The year was 2186. The world is still recovering from the Pangea War, often referred to as World War III. The war pitted East against West in a conflict of ideals, beliefs, technology, and ultimately, superiority of the human race. The war started as a Cold War and lasted as such for hundreds of years. Later, it would explode into an all-out war that lasted for 3 years. 5 years ago, January 5th, 2181, the war came to an abrupt end as if the off button had been clicked. At the time, the reasons for the end of the war were unclear to the public. It was not ended due to a victory from either side, the political savvy of either side, nor was there a chance of reconciliation in sight. The war had ended from a growing fear of a common enemy of humanity. Weird creatures, very similar to those of legend and mythology but not native to the earth, were appearing around the globe. At first, the appearances of these creatures were very rare, little more than simple, unsubstantiated sightings, like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster of days long past. Others, of course, believed these sightings to be aliens or paranormal activity. Eventually, these sightings would become confirmed realities. The first confirmed sighting was a phantasmal humanoid creature resembling that of a dead human spirit or ghost. As such, these creatures were then labeled as ghosts. Only later would we realize that this was indeed a mislabeling of the creatures, as more recent sightings looked very different, taking on all manner and shapes of creatures. Still, the name ghosts simply stuck, with all of these beings being referred to as ghosts. Though the first few ghost encounters were of little more danger to humanity than a knife-wielding maniac running down the public streets of Tokyo, Shanghai, or Los Angeles, striking down anyone or anything it could find. Nevertheless, the increase in both the number of encounters and various other worldly abilities of the ghosts was becoming enough of a concern to cause a ceasefire between the two world powers. Over time, the ghost encounters became fierce enough that both the Pan-American Sphere and the Geo-Asian Combine agreed, for the first time since their inception, to share information concerning the ghost sightings and encounters. The fear, which plagued both of the world's superpowers, was that these ghost encounters were escalating in frequency, intensity, and were a foreshadowing of what was yet to come. The fear which gripped the entire world was the end of humanity at the hands of the ghosts.
Excerpt from the Memoirs of Sato Iba, January 5, 2186. The 5th anniversary of the ceasefire. May 1st, 2186, 14:31 hours. A man turned his head to face the back of the room. The man of African-American descent sported a standard military crew cut and dark brown eyes. He wore a standard-issue BDU complete with cap which was held in place but a headset with a mic boom arm coming from the right earphone. He stood up, turned to the back of the room and shouted,
"Sir, we have a message from the Pasadena Emergency Rescue."
Private Henderson was just one of many first contacts at the G.E.T dispatch office. Other privates and corporals sat all around him in organized rows, each in their own little cubicle. There were more than 50 of them in total.
It is only a partial message in response to a fire. The message seems to have been cut off during transmission, sir.
Private Henderson shouted, accidentally bumping his chair, which then fell backwards to the floor.
"Show me,"
a deep booming voice said in response. An older man with a white but well-groomed beard and mustache sat at a large desk in the back of the room. His white hair, no more than 1.5 inches long, was well-groomed but visible from the fringes of his hat. The wrinkles beside and under his eyes gave the indication that he was a man in his 60s. His defining muscle tone, wide shoulders and thick neck portrayed a man in his 30s or 40s. He also wore a standard BDU but with the stars of a 2-star general. Commander John Faraday, the head of the G.E.T dispatch office located at Barron Midley Central Command, was the man who oversaw the communications of the entire Barron Midley organization. Private Henderson said,
"Computer, access call index 7573643.
The computer responded.
Accessing. On screen.
A large screen which took up the entire front wall across from Commander Faraday's desk flashed on. The commander watched as a seemingly standard call came in for a fire response on the US 110 highway south out of Pasadena, California. 2 fire teams, 1 emergency rescue team, and 1 local law enforcement were dispatched to the scene. Pasadena Dispatch said,
Pasadena Fire Units 34 and 35, Police Unit 534, and Emergency Unit 612. You have a fire in the westbound lane of Route 210, 3 miles outside of Pasadena. Over.
Fire Unit 34 responded.
En route. ETA 279 seconds.
Fire Unit 35 responded.
En route. ETA 183 seconds.
Police Unit 534 responded.
En route. ETA 93 seconds.
Emergency Unit 612 responded.
I en route from Pasadena General. ETA 383 seconds.
Police Unit 534 came across the radio again.
ETA 74 seconds. We have smoke sign. Requesting backup. Smoke and fire signs indicate this is far more than a vehicle fire.
As you can see, the law enforcement officer was a nearby patrol unit who was the first to arrive on the scene.
Private Henderson stated, picking up his chair.
Computer, show Pasadena Law Enforcement Officer number 612 camera footage. Index timestamp 1430 through end of transmission.
Commander Faraday said in a very serious tone. The computer responded,
Accessing. On screen.
The officer's body camera and dashboard camera both showed up in separate windows of the main screen. Commander Faraday watched as the footage began to play.
As you can see, sir, there was a massive inferno that appeared on the highway out of nowhere. And then the officer's transmission just ended.
Private Henderson stated as he sat back down.
Computer, access Pasadena Fire Units 34 and 35 video feeds. Cross-reference same time frames.
Accessing. On screen.
The computer replied. Commander Faraday watched the 2 feeds displayed on the screen. Each unit arrived on scene to the site of a blazing inferno. Shortly after their arrival, the transmissions ended abruptly.
That wasn't a communication disruption. That was the equipment being completely destroyed.
Faraday grumbled, slamming his fist on the desk.
We can only assume this was some sort of ghost-related incident. We did get confirmation that there is no communication from any of the personnel dispatched to the scene. G.E.T response is requested.
Private Henderson stated with a hint of urgency in his voice as he turned back to face his computer. Looking at a separate screen on his desk, Commander Faraday told Private Henderson,
I appreciate your promptness in this matter. I will take over from here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Stated Private Henderson. Commander Faraday went back into his private office at the back of the dispatch center. He then began looking intently over his G.E.T squads in the area, trying to ascertain which unit would most likely make it to the coordinates the quickest. He thought to himself,
What a mess. The closest unit has some new trainees on board. Well, they had best hope that they were good learners in the academy.
Commander Faraday then barked at the computer.
Computer open communication to Unit 37 Commander Rayhen.
The computer responded,
Opening connection. Connecting. Connection established.
Commander Rayhen appeared on the computer screen. Commander Rayhen was a middle-aged man with dark brown hair and green eyes. He carried the title of Lieutenant Colonel.
Commander Rayhen, can you hear me?
Faraday questioned in a stern but calm voice. Commander Rayhen responded,
Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear.
It seems that there is a disturbance at North 34, 6, 56 by West 118, 9, 10. I need Unit 37 to investigate. I will have backup for you shortly.
Commander Faraday ordered. Commander Rayhen responded.
Yes, sir. We are en route.
Commander Faraday then ordered.
Computer end transmission.
Ending transmission.
The computer responded. Commander Faraday then ordered.
Computer, open a channel to Commander Voss.
Opening connection. Connecting. Connection established.
The computer responded. A thin and older man appeared on the screen. He had gray hair pulled back into a ponytail and green eyes. He was clearly of Russian descent. His body was showing the signs of his age, a man in his early 70s, but his mind was sharp as ever.
Commander Voss, are you there?
Commander Faraday questioned. Commander Voss replied,
I hear you loud and clear, sir.
Commander Voss, I need you to take Unit 38 and back up Unit 37. Very likely ghost activity at North 34, 6, 56, by West 118, 9, 10. Also scramble Units 36, 39, and 40 just to be safe. I have a bad feeling about this mission.
Commander Faraday ordered in an authoritative tone, trying to cover up his insecurities. Despite sharing the title of commander, the same title as Commander Voss and Rahan, Faraday was higher ranked than both of them. Voss nodded in acknowledgement and said,
Yes, sir, Commander.
Commander Faraday then closed the channel and looked out at the night sky and thought,
God help us all.
At 14:31 hours, the first sightings of a possible ghost rang in to the Pan American Sphere government. The location of the sighting was south of the city of Pasadena. At 14:38 hours, before anyone could have even reacted, Pasadena, California, had been burned to the ground. A city of approximately 200,000 people had been completely incinerated, with nothing left but ashes and rubble. Nothing survived the flames, not the animals, not the plants, not even the people, buildings, or roads. It was all gone. At first, it was hard to believe that such a thing had happened. Whatever did this hit us, and it hit us hard. It was as if it wanted us to know that we were nothing but mere insects before a greater power, or at least that is what we feared.
Excerpt from Journal Entry 1746. Corporal Todd Keith Haroldson, G.E.T Unit 38, May 1st, 2018-60. 14:39 hours, flames visible in the distance and not a vehicle anywhere to be found. A lone armored transport began speeding down the freeway towards its destination. Pasadena, California, or what was left of it, was the area where G.E.T had been dispatched.
We are approaching the drop-off point, Commander Voss,
stated Private Huskins, a transport driver for Baron Midley. Huskins, Private First Class, sported a long, well-groomed beard, a shaved head, and more than 200 kilograms of body weight. He had been with the company for a little over 7 years. He was a heavy-set man carrying the majority of his weight in his oversized belly, incapable of actually fighting ghosts, but a talented driver from the private sector. He had been hired to drive troopers to ghost encounters worldwide. In addition to his considerable skills as a transport driver, he was also a very skilled pilot, which made him a great asset to the company. In fact, it was Huskins who flew Units 30 through 40 out to the California base.
Close the blast shield,
ordered Commander Voss, putting on his glasses. These were no ordinary glasses, mind you. They were command-issued computer glasses which displayed all of the computer information one could need on the one-way lenses. Simple-framed black plastic sunglasses issued to all commanding officers in the Baron Midley Corporation to provide all the necessary functions of a computer workstation in something as small and simple to wield as a pair of sunglasses. Looking through these lenses, Voss was able to see the status of all his troopers in the back of the transport in real-time live feed, as well as a computer layout and satellite imaging of Pasadena and the surrounding area.
Huskins, we will have to switch to computer imaging from here on out,
Voss ordered in his calm, unwavering tone of voice. Huskins complied with the order and replied,
Yes, sir.
As the blast shield closed over the windshield of the vehicle, a visual of the area appeared on the back of the plate as though it had been displayed on a computer monitor. Huskins would then make gestures at the air as if he was conducting a musical ensemble to change the viewed settings on the screen. With one wave of his hand, Huskins removed the raging fires from the screen in order to see where debris lay in the path en route to the drop point. With another motion of his hand, he also brought up displays of the outside conditions and temperatures as they drove into the raging inferno that was once the city of Pasadena. Knowing that the transport was fully protected from the mayhem outside, he proceeded into the maelstrom of flame as though it were not there. As he pumped the steer sticks backwards and forwards, he traversed the melted array of debris and potholes. Huskins would still continually glance back at the display of the conditions outside. He monitored them closely as though he was expecting something to happen. Huskins reported,
Outside temperatures currently at 93.7 degrees Celsius.
Huskins thought to himself,
These temperatures, while well within the tolerance levels of the transport, should still be closely monitored.
It was clear for all to see that the safety of his cargo was all that mattered to Huskins. Again he waved his hand, adjusting the climate control in both the front and the rear of the transport.
Might as well keep them troopers comfortable for the next little bit of the ride,
Huskins boasted to himself. Silently, Commander Voss also monitored the change in both the internal and external environmental conditions from his glasses. Voss maintained his steel, unreadable poker face despite monitoring so many systems, conditions, and information all at the same time. In addition to everything else that Voss was monitoring, he could also see every move and adjustment that was made with the transport from Huskins and from the troopers in the back area. Huskins stated,
ETA to rendezvous point, 465 seconds.
As if Huskins had said nothing, Voss waved his hand to open a communication channel to the troopers in the rear of the vehicle, because he could already see the information which Huskins felt the need to repeat, even though he knew Voss could see it on his screen.